Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, my dear brothers and sisters. Welcome to another episode of Behind the Wheel. I'm your host, of course, Hayder Kazzaz, and today we're very honoured to be joined by an active member of the community, our dear brother Shafique Govani. Salam alaikum, Haji.
Salam.
How are you?
All good, man.
Are you well?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, man.
No, it's an honour. Just as a background, brothers and sisters, Haji Shafique, so the first question he asked is, on this journey, am I going to be driving? And I said, no, that's not the concept of the show. So
my friends would be laughing when they hear this, man.
You didn't want to drive, basically.
I didn't want to drive. No, you can ask my friends why.
Is there a particular reason?
No, I just don't enjoy driving. And the funny thing is that for 15 years, I was driving 120 miles a day.
Wow.
Minimum.
Wow.
And I don't know if it was part of it, that I'm so tired of driving.
Yeah, probably
but
so.
I just get stressed of driving.
Probably.
So yeah.
Today you're our dear guest and our passenger. So I'm going to focus on the driving.
Awesome.
There have been moments where I get a bit engrossed in the conversation and nearly crash. So just be my second pair of eyes.
I trust you, man.
Haji, I guess before we start, just an introduction to yourself, who you are, where you're from, just I guess for the benefit of the audience and the brothers and sisters at home.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So my parents are from, they were actually brought up in Uganda, in Africa.
Okay.
And that was following the migration from India, where my great-grandfathers are from. And then I'm sure many of you have heard of the 72 episode with Idi Amin.
Yes.
The dictator, and as a result of that, the family had to migrate, leave the country pretty much overnight, or within a very short time span. And at that time, they weren't sure where they were going. And out of all the countries, we ended up in Sweden.
Ended up in Sweden. So you're born in Sweden?
I'm born and bred in Sweden. Firstborn in the family.
Really?
Yeah.
SubhanAllah.
Yeah.
How was Sweden? I mean, what age did you stay there until?
So born in 76, and I stayed there for 22 years.
MashaAllah.
Yeah, so finished all my education.
So by all accounts,
I'm Swedish.
You're a Swede.
I am Swedish. Yeah. You can see that from my blue eyes, can't you?
Fantastic. Yeah. And Haji, I know that obviously, a big part of today is to find out a little bit into kind of what your role is currently, and what you're doing now, because there's a benefit for the community. Inshallah. Tell us a little bit about what you do.
So in terms of the community life, I've had 2 or 3 sort of phases, if you like. When I first, back in Sweden, it was a lot of community involvement. My father
was there a big Khoja community in Sweden?
So we have currently 2 communities.
Nice.
And at its peak, you had about 250 heads.
MashaAllah.
One in a small town called Trollhättan. That's where we lived.
Right.
And the other one is up closer to Stockholm. It's called Master Jamaat, or community. But yeah, our community was at its peak 250 heads. It was predominantly by 4 or 5 families. My father and my grandfather, in fact, they set up the first community, and I think that's where it started in terms of our involvement. The first, initially we were very much holding our programs in a flat, in an apartment, and then it grew to. Then we ultimately built a mosque.
MashaAllah.
So it was a massive journey that we were part of from very young age.
I can imagine so. I mean, you grew up in that. So Haji, just thinking now about, as you mentioned, you had like phases of roles in the community, going back to that.
Absolutely. So I guess my first involvement was very much back in Sweden.
Right.
We got involved in the madrasa there. We got involved in the sports because it was a small community, small group of people. We had to pretty much get involved in everything. Yeah. And the guidance was there from my father, my uncles, who are very much involved, and that's where I guess my community career involvement really started. My inspiration. I was following my brother. He was very much involved, and you're following their footsteps naturally, as it is, right? And especially so when you're in a smaller community. I think that becomes part and parcel of your life. Absolutely. Then moving on, fast forwarding, around 99 when I finished my education in Sweden. I got married in the UK, moved over to London, and started getting involved because for us it was important to get involved in the community life here. And the first engagement I had was with a charity called World Federation. Yep. And the department called Zainabia Child Sponsorship Scheme. So that's where my first engagement was. Great group of people who welcomed me into the team. Learned about the organization, the institution, the great work that was going on already, and was part of that journey for 4 to 5 years. Took part in all the admin back office work, had the opportunity to go and travel, visit countries like India, Africa, saw the projects on the ground.
Brilliant.
So it was an amazing experience for me at that time. Then I took a bit of a break, and subsequently was roped into madrasa. So I guess people had seen, what I had done in my previous community engagement, and was asked to take up the role of principal in Starma Madrasa. And
it's one of these things, Haji, that the importance of the madrasa and the jama'at is very clear and apparent for a non-Khoja looking in, because I know there's a big emphasis on it.
It is.
And it's probably something that we have less in other communities. So in the Iraqi community, there is a detachment between the mosque and the school that the kids will attend.
Right.
Why do you think it's such a staple, so important for the Khoja community?
I think that's a heritage, a legacy that's come from East Africa. It was very much closely knit together right at the outset, and I mean, the mosque programs, as well as the madrasa, as well as the sports that we probably will touch upon later on, but madrasa has always been one of the cornerstones of the whole institution, and so Starma Madrasa, when I stepped in, was massively renowned around the world for its proactive approach, for creating the syllabus, creating the teaching material, the teaching methods, etc. And still, of course, is well renowned.
Yeah, of course.
So I stepped in at a time where it was a big organization. We had around 500 and 550 students.
MashaAllah.
You're looking at 70, 80 teachers. And to step into that role at the age of 30 was a bit daunting, possibly. But I think I was ready with that because of what I already been experienced within the community. Alhamdulillah, I've been blessed to start at a very early age. So I got involved, took that responsibility. It was a 3-year term, and it was a great experience. A lot of learning, in terms of managing the team that you had around you, the engagement with them, working together with them, developing an institution that was already big, and then to try to do something else to make it grow even further. It was a massive challenge.
Of course. When you look back and in that 3-year term, what do you think your biggest achievement was?
I think the key for me was there were a number of components that worked really well.
Right.
At that time, I think what was needed was consolidation. And a bit of bringing everything together. I mean, there were individual pockets working extremely well. Organizational-wise, really good platform and basis, but I thought that it needed a bit more consolidation.
Right.
We needed to increase, one thing that has sort of maybe not been very strong at times is the communication, the marketing as well, because many times when you look at the community, you tend to forget the aspect of communication, the aspect of marketing.
Indeed.
And I guess with my background in the professional career, etc.,
it's nice you were able to bridge kind of your corporate experience alongside the khidmah to the community.
Absolutely. And I think you're touching on the right thing. Bringing that consolidation, but also bringing that more corporate element to that.
Of course.
And I think that had to be done, because many times you sort of not frowned upon, but you're scared of bringing in those aspects.
Indeed.
But
I think it's something actually our communities need to work on a little bit. I think that there's a bit of a stigma attached with community work. That means that we should be expected to do things in a certain way. Where maybe looking at it from a corporate structure, there are benefits that can be involved for everyone to have, right?
Absolutely. And I think that really brought a lot of advantages. I mean, in terms of team building and teams working together. And you can imagine that an institution of 100 teachers, and it was growing 600, 650, 700 students, and just the sheer responsibility of managing and pulling that together.
Right.
I think the biggest achievement perhaps was for me to consolidate, and I think when I left that after 3 years, we did a fairly good job. The team that was there, I was blessed. I was always been blessed with people working around me, very committed people, passionate people. So alhamdulillah.
Haji, I also want to ask, by the way, there is a sort of a, I don't know if it's like a connotation or a stigma, I don't know if it's a fact or not, so I want to get some light shed on it from you. But get your opinion on the fact that I'm pretty aware that the Khoja community typically runs their events, their madrasa, their mosque, mainly for the Khoja community.
Sure.
So I know there's like, for example, a membership, but then like as a Khoja Jama'at, and I think in particular Stanmore as well as others,
correct,
that you have to be a Khoja to join. Does that extend to the madrasa as well?
So madrasa, in fact, has been slightly different.
Okay.
Where it hasn't been restricted to the membership only.
Nice.
And if you've seen the growth over the past 7 to 8 years in particular, you've seen a lot of non-Khojas, if you like, joining madrasa. Even during my time, we had quite a good number. But now that's been open because the philosophy has always been education, regardless of membership.
Yeah, which is a big blessing to have. Okay, and so that you started off the community within the madrasa.
Correct.
You then started moving into the kind of the world of sports. I know you mentioned football a little bit younger, so I presume sports has always been a passion for you anyway.
Absolutely, sports was very much from the beginning. That's how you integrated with the community,
right?
And the whole family was into sports, and I don't know if England how popular it is here, but ice hockey and those kind of sports were very
less
popular.
So in the UK, less so in the UK.
But yeah, so sports was a big part of our lives, and. After madrasa, I took a long break because when you do community work in the community, you get exhausted because there's a lot of. It's like a second job outside your normal career.
So I have interest. You were the head teacher of the madrasa, but you had a full-time job separately.
I had a full-time job at the same time.
Wow! Yeah. I thought that was your permanent.
No, not at all, not at all. So all the work that we do in the community is purely voluntary.
Oh wow, that's amazing!
And at that time, I was working in my offices were in Essex. And as I said, I was driving 120 miles. Exactly.
There you go.
Minimum.
It makes sense now.
Client visits, international travels, etc., on top of that, right?
Right.
And all of a sudden, I had to change my whole life structure because there are not enough hours in the day, and I changed my pattern, which has actually followed me through up to today.
How did you make it work?
I started sleeping for 4 to 5 hours.
Wow.
I actually had to cut down because there's no other way I could do a proper job at the on the work side as well as the voluntary work, because it's not only madrasa on the Sunday. You have to prep. You have to have meetings. You have to coordinate.
You've got 80 teachers. You're balancing 500 students.
Exactly.
A curriculum.
Strategy,
right?
Long-term strategy. It's not on a week basis only. So my life actually changed, and the way I was operating. I started waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
And I had to clear all my madrasa work in the morning, get out all the emails, prepare everything, get ready. Kids wake up, go to work, come back again, do a night shift if you like.
For those brothers and sisters who are at home, and I ask for myself, but also in the guise of them as well. I do community work, and I'm sure there are brothers and sisters at home that do that as well, or do some form of community work. What is what was the motivation?
Yeah.
To wake up at 4 a.m. every day? I mean, I presume this, for 3 years, we can use a month ago, the adhan for Salat al-Fajr was probably about 6. So you'd wake up pre-adhan.
Yeah.
And you'd wake up before you'd go into your main work.
Correct.
To then do voluntary work.
Absolutely.
What was the motivation behind doing that?
I think, again, the original inspiration from my parents and my father, and, just to, if you do something in life, you do it 110%.
Yeah.
Don't do a half-hearted job. And for me, that was a leading star or guiding star. That in order to deliver that with professionalism, with care, with respect, and with the respect that the organization demands and deserves, and the memberships and the teachers, right?
Absolutely.
Because I have to be on top of it at all given times, right? And just all of that put together actually was a driving factor to have to wake up. I need to make sure that I'm on top of the situation. I'm 2 steps ahead, and it became natural to me.
You're still doing that now?
And this is what has with me today, even today, where I actually wake up 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. I try to average 5 hours sleep as much as I can, and that's actually helped me with my everything else. Says even when I didn't do community work, it helped me because now all of a sudden I had an extra 3-4 hours in the day, compared to normal. So that was another advantage that I took with me. So it exhausted you because you give 3 years
So you
of
took
your
a break.
life.
You took a break.
I took a long break.
Yeah.
And I did that for a long time. I think about 6 to 7 years, where I actually didn't touch anything in the community.
Right.
People ask me, Shafique, what's happening, man? You need to come back. There's so many projects. We need you here. This probably will be a good project for you, etc., etc. And I said, listen, if I do something, I want to do it properly. I want to do it when I'm ready, and I want to do something that I'm keen on, I'm passionate about, because otherwise there's no point in doing something where you just do it for the sake of it, right? We have got a few very interesting characters in our community who their convincing power is amazing.
Yeah. They're needed in every community.
They're needed, right? So about 2015, my kids were growing up and they started taking part in these sports tournaments in the community. So we went to Birmingham one year, and I was sitting there and watching them play and all that.
Right.
And then the chairman of the club was sitting next to me of Stanmore Jaffrey's, and the secretary as well, and said, Shafique, we need to speak to you. And they probably had planned the whole thing, right? That we are going to pin him down there at the right time.
Definitely, right in front of his kids.
Exactly.
Emotional card.
Exactly. So that's where it started, and it was a long conversation. And then I said, okay, I've done different parts of of the community. Sports is very close to me. My kids are growing up.
Yep.
And maybe this is the right time to get involved.
So what did you do? What was that step?
So what we initially said, they said, okay, Shafique, our football department is strong. We were playing on a weekly basis. There were annual tournaments we were attending, etc. But they said, we want to make it stronger, and we want to give it a project. So I said, okay, fine. Now I had an idea from back in Sweden how the football structure worked. Here I was not that familiar with it because I had already grown past it my younger years, and I was just getting used to how it was working, the educational system here. So the sports aspect of it was different compared to Sweden,
of course.
So I had to take the step and go out and see, so how does that work out there in the grassroots?
Right.
And I needed to understand the FA structure. So how does the FA work on a ground level? Okay, you knew about the FA at the top level, but how does it on the grassroots?
Yeah.
So I built a team of very dedicated people who had kids in the system as well. We went away and we said, okay, fine, now let's put a project planning together. And we went out and studied the grassroots football. Nice. So how does the league system work? We were very used to playing five-a-side at goals and whatever these centres are called. And I said, no, this is not football, because okay, fine, it gives you the certain set of skills, right? But you actually want to play on a proper field. You want to play 7-a-side, you want to play 9-a-side, you want to play 11-a-side. And so we went out and studied the structure, and we said, okay, fine, now we want to bring it back. This is what we're going to apply. We're going to have a total shift of operation.
Right.
Okay. And that's where the journey started of setting up the football department in a different light within Stanmore Jaffrey's. As I say, it was a very good delivery up to that point, but we needed to bring in something else which reflected what is out there.
Right.
And that's where it started.
Right. Beautiful. And I can see the passion when you talk about sports in the community. Why do you think it's so important, especially as you mentioned, for kind of the grassroots level pages? Why do you think sports especially in the Shia community? Because I don't think all Shia communities necessarily associate so much value to sport. I'm sure you think it's important. Why so?
I think, again, as I said when I was in madrasa, we're good at doing things in pockets. But we have to be stronger in bringing things together. And again, here we were very good in sports, be it volleyball or football and so forth and so on and so forth. But it was about bringing the added elements to it. So yes, there's a game, but there's an organisation around it.
Right.
And for me, it was important to build institutions. I've always been a firm believer of building organisations.
Right.
Something has to be organised, and when you do something, you do it to a 5-star level, as we call it ultimately, because the members deserve it. Wherever you go to your professional career, you get 5-star. Everything is organised, corporate, professional, right? You go schools, everything is organised. Even
like secular sports clubs.
Exactly, absolutely. So why don't our members have it within the setup? Okay, now I saw it. My kids, it was very difficult for them to get engaged with the football clubs outside. because you have to take into consideration our mosque programs. You have to take into consideration our madrasa timings, etc., the culture, the atmosphere, the environment.
Different culture.
And we said, well,
different role models, different culture. I mean, you wouldn't necessarily want your child always to be
100%
with a role model.
100%, the language and everything, right?
Absolutely.
And you need to be careful because that's where it starts.
100%.
And so we said, we're good at mosque programs, we're good at madrasa. Now we need to strengthen our sports side, okay? And
why was the sport in particular important? Do you think?
I'll tell you what actually then transpired in terms of my philosophy as well was that we got an enormous amount of talent with the community.
Yeah,
young professionals, and at that time, dads who had kids in their 5-6-year-olds, etc., working in the city. But you didn't see them in the community structure for some reason. Yes, they were dedicated to a certain aspect in terms of madrasa and all that.
Yeah.
But sports was never lifted forward to that level.
Right.
And now all of a sudden, see in life what you need to do, sometimes you have to build something, not sell the dream, but show them the scope.
Right.
Okay, this is where we want to reach. We are here, but this is where we want to go.
Yeah.
And we saw that philosophy. And alhamdulillah, with the grace of God, within a span of months, we now had parents of the kids in the same age getting involved. They wanted to become coaches. They saw sports as a way of giving back to the community.
Very
because
nice.
they didn't feel comfortable with maybe teaching in madrasa.
Exactly.
They maybe didn't feel comfortable in going reciting in mosque, whether it's du'as or etc. Right?
Yeah. It's not for everyone. I mean, everyone, as you said, there's such a wide array of skill sets, isn't
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. And sports was something that appeals to majority.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden we started getting these keen sports people, dads, who would now want to become part of this journey, which we started. And all of a sudden we had 35, 40 volunteers over 2 to 3 months.
Amazing.
Yeah, dedicating their time. We want to be part of this journey.
Amazing.
Yeah. And it was amazing because what we did was we engaged with the FA.
Right.
So what we said, okay, we can do things internally, but we need to learn from outside.
Nice. Am I right in saying that you have a role now within the FA as well?
Not at the moment.
Okay.
Not at the moment, but I did spend a lot of time in different aspects connecting with the FA.
Okay.
So alhamdulillah, I managed to get a lot of experience with that, where we spoke to the local. So the FA is divided into county FAs.
Right.
Okay, as you might know.
Yeah.
We spoke to the county FA. They guided us. We became FA affiliated.
Nice.
So now you have to go through a journey where you need to abide by certain criteria. You need to have safeguarding in place.
Yep.
Yeah. You need to have FA level 1 qualified coaches,
Nice.
etc. Until you can become a qualified.
So you
team.
putting yourself within that framework
Yeah.
ensured that there was a natural progression anyway, because the criteria you had to fit had to get you there, basically.
Absolutely, we had to. So we managed to get in the first year 25, if I'm not mistaken, or 30 FA level 1 coaches qualified.
Amazing. So you set
From within
goal.
the community.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And for me, it was important to set the foundation because I knew that within 2 to 3 years, I'm out. I'm not the kind of person who will sit there and hold a position for 5,
You're
6,
sleeping
7.
4 hours a day. You're going to burn yourself out.
Exactly.
You need another break.
Absolutely, man. So for us, it was delivering what was just in front of you,
Right.
but it was also about building for the future.
Yeah.
Okay, so now you have to build the structure, you have to build the team, you have to set the vision in place, etc., right? And alhamdulillah, today, if you look back, we got 200 kids playing on a regular basis. They are training. We're now part of leagues. In the external leagues, you're engaging in football tournaments and weekly matches with the grassroots football, which was unheard of at that point, right?
Yeah.
You got coaches coming on a weekly basis, and this is not only limited to the boys. I mean, you got girls' sports section absolutely flourishing as well in their different aspects. So alhamdulillah, the growth has been phenomenal.
Yeah. So Haji, just on that point then, and the fact that you went through this framework.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the things, again, and I'm a layman in this world. I've attended a lot of football clubs,
Sure.
and I've done a lot of very informal football training.
Yeah.
And that mainly followed my son's life stages as he's growing, just wanting him and his friends and doing a bit
Correct.
of coaching here and there, but no formal training. Do you think that the Khawaja community is better at that than the non-Khawaja community, especially in the UK?
I've seen the beauty of this is part of our vision was that we wanted to engage with the other Muslim Shia communities as well.
Nice.
And we introduced a tournament. There were tournaments running every year.
Yeah.
In different aspects.
Yeah.
We started a new tournament called the Salam Cup.
Nice.
It was back in 2016, if I'm not mistaken, at the Hive in Barnet. Have you been there?
I have. Yeah, many times. Yeah.
Massive pitch, great pitch. Yeah. And we invited not only Khoja communities, but invited some other Shia communities as well. Nice. Because now we wanted to start this engagement where there was a lack in the past. I think we had 2 or 3 Iraqi teams joining us, and it was amazing. You know, you got a mixture of all these teams coming together in the spirit of brotherhood, Salam Cup and all of that.
Beautiful.
And in terms of your question, I find people from the Iraqi community extremely talented.
Okay.
Yeah, skillful, skills, etc. Like any other football environment, you'll have different styles. You'll have the Brazilian style, you have the Italian style, you have the Swedish style, if there is a Swedish style.
By the way, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
In terms of footballing ability, it's very clear that Iraqis are better footballers than Khoja, just so you know. Yeah, in my opinion. Humble a bit. No, I'm joking.
But very talented.
The question is geared more for me about the organizational structure.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, and by the way, I'm sure I may be wrong, so some brothers or sisters may be screaming at the TV now, but I don't know if there is an FA-affiliated Iraqi Shia centre football team. I mean, by the way, Iraqi centres are open for everyone, so are Khoja centres as well. So I want to make sure that we make that distinction. But I mean the organisers.
Yeah.
So the mosque that I frequent, or the involvement I have in my community centre.
Sure.
We haven't ever had a FA affiliated football team.
Yeah.
Do you think that is a weakness in the non-Khoja community?
I think up to 2016 it was unheard of, full stop. Okay, and I guess unless there is any other community pockets, or there are community pockets out there who started that, I haven't heard of anything.
Right.
So in that sense, from what we know, we were probably the first one who took the lead.
Okay.
And the idea was to establish ourselves, to understand the whole framework ourselves.
Right.
We understand what Jaffrey's.
Right.
Not perfect it, but understand it properly. Then share best practice with other Khoja communities.
Nice.
Engage with them.
Nice.
Learn from each other. Scale it up. And then also go to other Shia communities. Now, we have engaged with other Shia communities. Show them, this is what we're doing. If you want to learn from us, we're happy to share best practice, because there's no point in restart the wheel again. Or reinvent the wheel,
you're right.
Now, I don't know what the uptake has been. There were some initial conversations. I'm not sure if there are any Iraqi communities out there.
But I mean, if anyone's listening to this that's involved in a community centre, you're happy to help.
100%. And we've said many times, repeatedly, that we're here. We want to share our best practice, we want to share our learnings, and if there are communities out there who wish to get some guidance, we've got a framework already, and we're happy to share that across. 100%.
For those who are thinking of taking that leap and are involved in the community, but can't imagine themselves sleeping 4 hours a day, and are thinking about this and thinking, is it worth the investment? What advice would you give them?
First of all, in terms of your question and answer, that is it worth the investment? Without a doubt. What we have seen over the past 6 years in particular is that not only have we now got more organisation around the sporting structure, but you've got people from different parts, as I mentioned earlier, coming in and working with the community who would previously be extremely hesitant.
Right.
Okay? On the back of that, you now have the same people also attending more mosque events. The kids are attending more mosque events.
Yeah, I mean, their football team goes there, so...
Absolutely. You go there, you see the integration, the conversation, the networking, not only amongst the kids, okay? And I'm telling you, the brotherhood is absolutely... Because now they play together. They train together. They win together. They lose together. Okay? They've also now started traveling together. Okay? Only... a few months ago, when my son finished his A-levels, ultimately the team that he was, the Islam Jaffrey's team that he played and grew up with, they went on a friends trip to celebrate their A-levels results and all of that, right? And you can see those kind of levels of impact. But also you then see a connection between the kids and the coaches.
Nice.
You know, you were talking about role models.
Yeah, yeah.
And we said that, well, if they're playing external clubs, now how are they going to?
You don't have. I mean, it's just another area that you don't have control over.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And now you know that you got within a fairly safe environment.
Yep.
And you will have role models within the community. And you've seen so many times, including my own kids, going up to their coaches, asking for advice, asking for guidance. You go to the mosque, you see the level of conversation coming, which maybe wouldn't have been there if the sports wasn't there. So in terms of your question, is it worth? 100%. In fact, we need to do a lot more of sports investment within the community. There's a lot more to do.
Right.
The community has always supported the sports setup, but we need to continue pumping in different kind of resources into developing the sport generally.
What's your just last question, because we're nearly where we need to be, but just thinking about if you looked forward now, whether or not you were involved, whether or not you were taking a break or not, the next year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, what do you see as the next steps
for the sports section?
Yeah, well, I would say for the sports in Stanmore or in the Khoja community or in the wider community, but sports in general, what do you see is like the evolution? Where to next?
I mean, ultimately, people have always talked about, you know, one day we'll have a player in the Premier League, etc. And I think those are kind of ambitious, and who knows, maybe that will happen. Yeah. But I think in terms of the organisation within, and I'm not too closely linked with, you know, what's happening in Africa and North America. And they've got good, strong structures, and I'm sure they're doing extremely well over there. I think a lot more collaboration.
Right.
I would like to see. It's already there, and it's growing, it's increasing, but I would see a lot more of that where we can share best practice. So, for example, the journey that Stanmore Jaffrey's went through with the FA, and how we built that organisation around the FA structure. Maybe speak to someone in North America and say, okay, guys, how are you doing it over there? They might be doing it already. I don't know. They might be, you know, years ahead of.
But collaboration definitely
sharing best practice, and I think those kind of a global team, where you sports team, if you like.
It would be amazing.
Yeah, where you can talk to each other, have conferences on a regular basis. How can we develop our kids? Okay, what needs to be done? Bringing people in. I think that's where we need to move as a whole community.
Haji, God bless you for all the work.
Thank you.
That you've done, and I do think, like, typically that, you know, the people who are sung about and always praised are the ones that are always on the face of being a speaker or being someone who's the face or a president. But I think, you know, sports in particular connecting with you. God bless you, inshallah, and give you the energy and the youth and the power to continue to do what you do.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Haji, no, it's been a pleasure to speak to you. Thank you so much. Before we let you go, Haji, we do a quick fire round.
Go for it.
So. Yeah, you didn't know about this.
I didn't.
You didn't know.
I wasn't prepped.
None of the guests know. The brothers and sisters.
I love it.
The brothers and sisters know about it, though. I've put down some questions for you.
Go for it.
What you need to do is essentially the idea of quickfire is that if there's an option, you have to choose one.
Done.
And any questions, succinct, but you have to answer as well. Yeah.
Go for it.
Bismillah. Okay. First question: if you could push a button in the world, it would make everyone 20% happier, but it also puts a worldwide ban on karak chai. Would you press it?
No.
No, that's the Khojas and karak chai.
Karak chai, man.
Forget the 20% of the world. I don't care. If you could be at any ziyarah right now in the world, where would you be?
8th Imam.
8th Imam, mashallah. Imam Ali ibn Musa, beautiful. Why so?
It's peaceful. And one of the best trips I had was with my parents there.
Mashallah.
So yeah, it would be 8th Imam.
Mashallah, lovely. From this list, who is the best footballer? Lionel Messi, Diego Maradona, Pele, or Cristiano Ronaldo? Ever?
Pele.
Above the other three?
For sure.
Above Messi?
For sure.
Really?
Yeah.
You seen him play live?
No, never. But TV and everything. But I just think, you know, the journey that he went through, the setting that he had, it was different. It was more challenging. Nowadays, the whole football structure has changed.
Slightly different.
So for me, it's Pele.
Lovely. What's your favourite quote? Could be anything.
It's the one that we applied to our sports club. Commercial mind, community heart.
Commercial mind, community heart. Beautiful. MashaAllah. Okay, if you were a footballer, what team would you play in? what position would you be, and what would be your trademark celebration?
It will be Juventus.
Juventus?
Yes.
That was a left field one.
Yeah.
Betting scandals.
Purely because of Gigi Buffon.
Really?
Yeah, so goalkeeper.
Lovely, goalkeeper. And
my
celebration, not really. So imagine your team just won. What would the trademark go-to celebration be for Shafique Govani?
I'm known as the guy who doesn't smile on camera.
Okay.
All right, so I would just be myself.
Acrobatic,
no expression.
8 flips
No,
and a roly-poly.
Well, I wish.
Okay, who is your inspiration and why? I think you touched upon it during the conversation earlier.
Yeah, for me it's been different ones, but I would mention one, and his name is, my father throughout my journey, of course. But outside that, there's a person called Mohammed Bisram. He was the leader of Zainabia Child Sponsorship Team, and for him to instill those kind of values in community work, for me, those are still with me. And many times when I need some advice and guidance, I still look back and I speak to him on a regular basis.
MashaAllah. Next question: what is the surah that means most to you in the Quran?
The surah that means most to you, it's it will be. That's a good question. Now, yeah.
You gotta think about them.
Which one is the one that talks about akhlaq? Come on, Shafiq. I should know this really. Okay, I'll have to.
Another one.
Another one. That will be. Surah Al-Inna Anzalna, I think.
Why?
Because it's within the month of Ramadan, and that's when the whole community gets together.
Beautiful.
So that would be the answer for that.
Lovely.
I need to come back now. My wife is going to tell me, Shafiq.
That's it. Yeah. Mrs. Govani, I tried with him, but it's not my fault.
Yeah.
We've gone from something very deep and beautiful about the Quran to a useless question, which is: would you rather sneeze uncontrollably once every day, or get hiccups for 10 minutes every day? Which one would you rather choose?
Hiccups.
Hiccups above the sneezing uncontrollably. In one sentence, we're going back to serious now. What is the meaning of life?
Meaning of life is to be a good human being with a lot of good akhlaq, caring for people, which means listen and understand. I think that's one thing that we many times oversee, is we hear people, but we don't actually listen to them. Yeah, we don't understand them. I think that needs there needs to be more of that understanding.
Very nice. God bless you. And the last question is: what is the best Khawaja Jamaat in the UK?
Trollhättan in Sweden.
In the UK, you have to choose.
In the
one.
UK,
you have to choose one. The best Khawaja Jamaat in the UK.
It will have to be. Well, my heart is in Stanmore, so
Stanmore wins.
Has to be.
So if Hayder are listening and they're upset with you,
no,
then
we work very closely.
Okay. Haji, God bless you. Thank you so much for your time. Really enjoyed it. Jazakallah. May Allah always give you the tawfiq to carry on serving the community. Inshallah, there'll be a Iraqi affiliated FA team coming soon from after this episode.
We're here to help anytime.
God bless you, Haji.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Shukran.
Allah okay. Alhamdulillah, we've been able to do it, but quite sad. But another episode has come and gone of Behind the Wheel. It's been lovely to have our guest Al-Hajj Shafique Govani with us. May Allah allow him to continue his great work, and if anyone's inspired and wants to get in touch, then please do. Inshallah, join us, the IHTV3 team, myself, Hajj Hayder. Inshallah, next episode where we'll have another guest, another riveting conversation, and inshallah we're looking forward to seeing who will be behind the wheel, and we'll see you soon. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.